lesquels ils ont engagé.
N'hésitez pas à vous avancer. Excuse-moi.
Ouais, vous pouvez venir.
N'hésitez pas à vous avancer et à parler bien fort en fait, parce que nous sommes enregistrés et même les autres coins dans le monde peuvent aussi nous voir en direct si elles sont là. Donc, du coup, voilà, n'hésitez pas parce que sinon on a un micro qui est quand même relativement petit. Donc, plus on est prêt et plus on parle fort, et mieux eux ils entendent en fait. Voilà, tout simplement.
So it will last 1 hour. So you can do 50 minutes of presentation and 10 minutes of question answer. Half an hour of debate, maybe a bit more. Okay. Fine for you? Okay, that's your choice.
Nice, wonderful. Merci beaucoup. So yeah, do not hesitate to speak very loud. Oh. Really, you can speak very loud. Do not hesitate to yell if you need to, so it will be catched by the microphone and it will be easier. Voilà. Surtout qu'on n'est pas très nombreux, donc autant meubler.
Very good morning. Welcome to this second day of calling. My name is Vijay Pandari. I'm coordinator of the organization. We are a group of 150 members. And we are still a couple of other members in a short time. So, yeah, we are working on
If you can speak the louder you can. Just yeah.
So, yeah, we had a lot of discussions on this conservation and how to do what are the main focus areas and all those things. So yeah, we started first we started what we are main focus on, and then we are going to try to say talk about one species, one plant species, or one animal species, or one marine species. There's a lot of we have millions of species in this world, and we have every day coming out so many endangered species, so many listed on the red list, and all those things. We know that there are other various UN conventions dealing with aspects of species protection schemes and all those things. And so yeah, we try to focus on one particular aspect which encompasses all these things, and we figured out the central role of the human beings in this whole process of conservation. So we are in the center of using all the natural resources, affecting all the other species on the planet. This is the main focus of local communities and indigenous people in the role of conservation, because they as of today, 5% of roughly around 370 million indigenous people inhabit this planet across the world, and they are almost composed of 5% of the entire global population, and they enrich almost 60 to 70% of all the natural resources, and they hold on to this planet. We try to connect the interrelationship, connect various points, systems involving how they process resources and all this. So we try to figure out a few roles of indigenous people and importance in communities. creating social economy, we have this concept of social cooperatives across the world. Giving communities the, the rights and making them part of the economy, in which they can produce the local, crops or process all those things, and they have a better market in the world. Big companies. Yeah, the other point is taking an example of social communities in Mexico. It's one of the very successful case study in Mexico, where the indigenous communities have this local produce. They have this operation at the local scale. Next one. We also, our group we had a very group and from across the world, and we also discussed some of the conservation issues in the Africa. And most of the other important points that have been discussed in the group pertain to the capacity building of the local communities. How do you give the communities build the traditional knowledge? They possess a lot of traditional knowledge. How do you we have the issue of the big corporate companies trying to take over the traditional knowledge and try to patent all this knowledge and use the knowledge for their political and corporate economic gains. So how do you protect the local rights and we also discussed this. We also found out that there's a gap between the Western countries and the North and South divide. The developing and developing countries. And there's a lot of information, knowledge that needs to be exchanged between these two blocks of the world, so that you have a better understanding of the exact conservation issues going across things. Yeah. The main idea of conservation, we need to take the aspect of economic realities into consideration before going ahead with the technology and transfer of technology and capacities. So one of the key things that we identified in this discussion. Yeah, this and we also try to figure out the innovative methods in doing conservation, like the replacing the industrial scale of agriculture, industrial agriculture to more better smart agriculture, the concept of smart agriculture, restoration, the forest regeneration. How did the forest indigenous local communities help in forest regeneration? Forest regeneration again helps to bring back all the species that have been away from the ecosystem. That helps in coming the species to get back into the natural setting of the ecosystems. And coming to the policy aspects, we discussed that there's a lot of a lot of technical jargon that goes into the build-up of all the policies, programs of conservation, and there's no transparency in the civil society given to the respect to civil society. How these policy aspects are being framed, what's the role of youth in the process of developing policies. What does the youth say on this policies? And this is one interesting topic that we discussed. Reducing the food chain. Food chain is like the other biggest aspect of conservation. We identified it. We have series of food chains in the ecosystem where the humans depend on it, and a lot of the food that we consume these days comes from an industrial processed, industrial food that we consume. So we have replaced these traditional food systems with the industrial farming, where most of our food ends up in we have at our tables with the processed meat and processed food. So does this lowering the food chain, coming back to basics of what needs to be essentially to be taken as for dieting systems and Can this be helps in any way? Consumption in responsible way. Can this in any way help in conservation issues? And then we also discussed about the participatory approach of the communities. Uh, how do you democratically involve all the communities in the decision making? And what's the role of women groups? We see that in the past and across the world, women play a key role. Women groups play a key role in conservation aspects. There are many past examples of in the history that women's led environmental movements are quite successful, and they're in the front areas of the conservation aspects. Gender issue is also another main conversation that we discussed in the yes, yeah. We also try to discuss the conservation with respect to energy. Since we are all discussing the main focus here for the past next coming weeks is climate change. And climate change, we are trying to replace fossil fuels. And the alternate, when we discuss about replacing fossil fuels, we try to come up with renewable energies. And some of the renewable energies that people are trying to showcase is the hydropower plants. And thus, hydropower plants is a better alternative for renewable energies. So we see that building up mega hydropower plants is not a good idea. Such you are destroying the ecosystems. You are replacing a lot of communities. Human settlements are being replaced, displaced. So we come to a conclusion that we discuss that we need to strongly. There's an urge that strong opposed to the renewable energy such as hydropower plants. Yeah, so these are the three points that we have run to the conservation. So, but still we have a lot of things to discuss. Mostly we focused on the role of local communities. Yeah, whole process. And so then we can. We have come to the action points of what's the role of youth in this whole process. Make youth combining with all the stakeholders in the process. All the government agencies, civil society, the government, local governments, making them part of this whole thing, connecting capacity building programs for the youth. This is one of the key aspects of transferring the knowledge, providing necessary skills to the youth. How do you knowledge of the conservation aspects and trying to involve them, engage them with the communities. Again, ensuring them, connecting back. You see this issue of economic development. How do you do this process? How do you ensure that all the local communities benefit from the, the social economy? How do you build up on a larger scale? Alternative ways of development. Again, this partnership, transferring the knowledge from north to south, from youth across the world. These are brief points we discussed on the youth's role. We can add up more. Any questions pertaining to this? Yes.
You mentioned strengthening much involved in the South.
Yes.
On the international level, there's also really conservation projects.
Tu prends les notes?
Solutions that express my brain, say, Europe to Africa, or something into our oceans. Also means like about fisheries. I think we need.
I'm doing my best. No, it's okay. No, you don't have to.
Yeah, just repeat it briefly.
So I think
Just to sum up.
a point has been put to international conservation projects such as fisheries for migrating birds and massive habitats, and how you should think we could incorporate maybe some more specific points around that instead of just the local. So how to link the international to the local maybe.
Bridging gap between them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like to information, but you have huge disease conservation programs anyway. It's also as almost came from the more unique people to observe more at certain point. So here we can involve the scale and we can make a link between local and global as integration. But I think it's really interesting to have this link. And also if you have like local which are important for the global program.
Juste on a regardé, enfin t'as fait la position. Et c'est bien. Enfin en tout cas on entendait bien. Ouais. Ça peut faire. On connaît pas bien mais. Ah, enfin c'était il y a un quart d'heure je pense. C'est pas mal. Par contre juste essaye dans la mesure du possible d'orienter un peu genre sauf voir ça sans pouvoir parce que quand on était en gros on voyait un mec jusque là et...
Ouais je sais, mais en fait c'est pas facile à dire.
Ouais, non mais juste c'est ça, même c'est pour ça des fois tu vois genre comme ça c'est pas mal.
Je sais, je fais...
Enfin voilà, juste ça je te faire.
Non mais ouais, c'est avec des micros comme ça, c'est genre...
Mais ça veut...
No, it's okay, but
I just
is
check.
it possible to make like a round table? Here, just a square table. Same thing. It's like it's more practical to work in circle, but maybe it's better if it's comment on the. Yeah, I can try. Do we still need this or not? Yeah, but you can. It's a discussion we had, like how to have them more knowledge about political conservation and also feel concerned about it. Because when you look at the global scale, it's difficult for one people to be really concerned. So that's why we choose this project.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would be great to have integration. So if you have any good examples, we should link those.
Yeah, I think if it's about the youth, and there was like a second question I had actually. You know how you have lots of exchange programs, or you can go volunteering abroad, and I think it's something that matters a lot to the youth. Like I think I was always really interested in like going to other countries and working conservation, and obviously I think this is a very vital exchange. So I think that it should be maybe some mention either in the action points of suggesting these programs. But at the same time, there's obviously a danger of volunteerism, that people just like, just go on a holiday and like, yeah, live it up. So I think it's a really crucial point of thinking about how you can have a meaningful exchange of young people, and bridging those links then can establish this, connection between, let's say I've got a group in the UK that works on ocean conservation, but we work together with a group somewhere else, and we can use different means of exchange and make the links, so they're not relying on the IUCN and the UNESCO and other like big global structures every year, like making the connections with the local on a global level maybe.
Yeah, it's like local, global, and local people.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are multiple programs which do propose exchange for conservation. A lot of them you need to pay.
Yeah.
Because it's abroad, it's endangered species, you have to go far away. So it would be a good idea to be able to develop conservation program which focus on everyday life.
No, I think it's a good question, and you can also like.
People will be super interested in what.
It's also the question like, should you pay for it? Like considering that if you're from the West, often, so by now some people make money with it, but at the same time, in many projects, the money actually goes into the local economies. It goes to the local projects, and then it's like a form of donation as well. And the question like, could you expect to like get everything for free? Like as if you come from industrialized country.
Exchange programs. Are we sending a team of people, group of individuals to a community and stay with the media or engaging with the community. So,
I mean, there's
not
different forms.
necessarily
There's different forms. I'm not saying there's just one. There's different forms of that exchange.
There's maybe one thing about education. Even if there is a group that works on education, maybe we could say that if you want to preserve or conserve a way of life, well, you have to start with the children, like to teach them traditional, for example, the tradition of the country they live in, and maybe that the only thing they learn is not McDo and an American series, or not series maybe, but American films, or
Yeah, you can join us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, we actually that we identified quite a lot of links between this kind of because you need the implication of kids' education, you need some economic part, also propaganda and alimentation, and some like education the way it means.
Yeah, well,
the main thing we identified the long links.
Yeah, well, I think you can talk about the links not too deeply. No, but it's. I mean, every group is mixing with one another. It's really related.
Really quickly end up to we try to get people, but education is not one group. So.
Education, I think, you want to conserve, you have to make sure that kids do not forget it. Because if the new generation, if the youth forget about things, that will never be preserved, even if you keep them in laboratories or anything.
And that's what we have mentioned, like reducing the food chain. Is there anything to do with the food chain?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
It's also like with buyers and people. It's social with people over different it's cheaper, it's a whole stuff to show. To make because we also put local communities because we did not find about the local communities in the South like indigenous communities for the first time local communities because we have local communities also very different. Like a local village where there is a farmer who wants to sell his production nearby, so it's also local. But you also have to think, okay, I'm not going to the cafe or whatever the big supermarket to buy stuff, maybe at more. So that's also the point of this local approach.
To take the case of Amazon forest, there's this group Amazon team, group of conservation team, working with indigenous people and trying to conserve so many species, crop species. They're trying to involve the indigenous communities for the better harvest and all those things. And these indigenous communities are acting as a bridge between the communities and the market, external market.
I think what's really important is also actually understanding what you mean by conservation.
What do you want to preserve?
Exactly. It's a question like what do you want to preserve and what is protection. So what do you, for example, not mention in this, hey, we want like exclusive non-take zones. We want to have areas that are literally just like left on their own. Do you want that? Or as you say, do you want to have...
The whole issue of conservation.
Maybe it's
Ecosystems,
biodiversity, some
cultural
traditions.
Zones of protected areas. There they should observe, where is playing the spoils for? Is it the indigenous communities or it's the creation of this conservation?
Project. Choose what you want to protect.
Yeah, that's what
Oh yeah, but I think you need some kind of so for example, if you have different local communities with individual interests, but from an ecological point of view, you need to connect different habitats, for example, like then you obviously need to seek coordination between local and regional levels as well.
Un côté un peu pas divinisé, mais un peu. Enfin, non, mais c'est pas divinisé, mais c'est un respect pour la nature. Ouais, voilà.
Yeah, but you can also think about conservation takes place not only in those areas you're thinking about, like your conservation in
Je protège
industrialized
la
nations as well.
biodiversité les
Their role of
différents
national
céréales
parks
parce que je sais qu'en garder
has
qu'une seule
been
c'est dangereux pour
in many countries the
l'agriculture.
most beneficial, the most effective actually. Come again?
In the developed world,
Yeah, in the developed world. And so when you think about American national parks, Canadian national parks, if you think in Europe, like the national park systems, like are the areas actually like the best protected because they have this. But that's because we have strong legal structures.
strongly, that's
So what you then saying like is like, oh, there's a problem with like there's that. But it's like, yeah, for example, if you go to Scotland or if you go to France, you know, people respect those areas, but it's important that having this stage to implement them and to
you made an important point that strong legal structures.
Yeah.
That's missing in the developing world. Take the case of
Yeah.
Philippine Amazon and Indonesian forests. The Pristine forests, where still the oil palm plant kills.
I know. I think that it has to be this connection because otherwise there's always a danger of too much localization, just thinking, oh, these are the problems, but the problems are way bigger, right? And there should be like this kind of like, hey, we're in this together feeling. So I think I can play a role in supporting people in the Brazilian Amazon forest. I think I can play a role in Indonesian peatlands, for example. You know, there's like always this, like, how can you make, especially for young people, how can you make those connections and actually be effectively like working in it? I think that's like concern that I have as a young person, not as a politician, not as like something, but like as a young person, I think that's important. There was also a point of participation.
Sorry, I switched it off. You wanted me to switch it back on?
I think he has it here.
Okay.
Yes, it's like participatory approach usually not very effective. It sounds like fuck participation.
It's not for participation, it's just you have to find a way to develop it.
Yeah.
Maybe use not really effective, maybe change it with must be improved. Yeah, or something like more positive.
Here it sounds like, okay, let's just
let's give up.
get it over. See ya.
Maybe there's something like
Yeah, but I think the phrasing right now is just not good. Like it's just like
maybe you can say something.
because then you say
There's still some improvement to make participation more effective or something.
because when you explained it, you said like
that just
you want to have democratic structure and you want people to participate, but then you need to phrase it differently.
to make,
That's
Yeah.
not what you said at the beginning. It's listening to people
Yeah.
really involved in that.
maybe something intended to say not really effective, just saying people need to get more involved in the preservation of their local culture.
There was also another point where the phrasing was very,
The phrasing is definitely not super great.
yeah.
It's not
This one here. Also, it must ensure that the indigenous population has fallen back due to economic development projects. What do you want to say with this?
Because of this, all the development projects of these corporations and these they have lost the rights of the land they possess.
So what do you want to say with this? That's it. Because right now it sounds like ensuring is like to make sure, and then you say that indigenous population has fallen back. So it's nonsensical right now. Like it doesn't make sense, and it could be misunderstood to like you have to ensure that indigenous populations are falling back. So you need to be really careful here. Yeah, exactly.
Bring it to the mainstream of the economic process.
that they don't lose their cultural identity during the economic development or something like that.
Because, for example, in India, we have these huge development projects going on. Every day, government comes up with a new development project where the communities in the village, rural areas, they lose their lands, which they are holding for centuries long. But the whole fight comes between the communities and the government. The community doesn't want to lose their land. Government wants to go ahead with the development projects. How do you make it balance?
Oh, so what you're saying here is indigenous. Yeah. Yes, please.
Indigenous, yes. This is what we
Both.
how do the indigenous communities play a major role in conservation?
Et après, peut-être interview sur comment vous travaillez pour le manifesto.
He's actually the.
Okay, but
Yeah,
Are those two the heads of the working group, or
I think they are. Yeah.
because they just wanted to check with the filming if they can do a interview afterwards?
Okay. Soyez motivés. Would you? Une interview.
terminer le
Suivre le
développement.
développement.
C'est à 11h.
On va le faire avec toi, c'est bien. C'est ok, c'est
But I'm actually not. I'm already like part of another working group, so maybe you should ask those two.
Okay.
I think they have been leading the working group.
Excuse me?
I think it would be easy to do it with me, but I think it would be nicer to.
okay. I think we're lacking time.
Okay, so you need to.
Yeah.
So you need some sort of insights of like the conversation here.
Yeah. What? Can you do it?
I mean, you can just like give the micro and like we can have that for a bit.
Yeah, but I need like 10 seconds of you working and then interview.
Okay, cool. That's easy for yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Do you feel you're doing the interview?
Apparently.
You'll make it?
Yeah, he said he wants to like do it.
Okay, so I don't have to ask.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah.
She doesn't really want to. Or...
Yeah, and he said he wants to do it quickly because they're losing time. So he wants to like do like.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, we have to start like
Half an hour, yeah.
at quarter past 11 at work.
Je peux mettre ça dans ta poche. Et alors, je vais te cliquer ça là. Voilà. Et si toi tu peux mettre ça dans ta poche pour pas que ça se voit trop. Ouais, voilà. Super. Et on va faire une petite 1 minute, 2 minutes, on va prendre des images. Et est-ce qu'après, toi, tu dois rester ici pour on peut faire tout de suite après l'interview?
Come again, so you like film me like here and then you just gonna.
Toi, si tu venais là-bas, 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Pendant.
So what was your main point?
Just self-determination of traditional. So it's important because they have knowledge of it, but to conserve them.
You mean you don't have, you can't tell them we need to protect that and that. They'll know what they want to protect. That's what you meant.
Yeah, so I proposed to actually like that. However, but giving oral self-determination forward to local scale to take these decisions.
Okay, saying that.
But it's very good to have the education side because if you have more power,
Yeah.
do the right thing.
Yeah, saying that.
Yeah, empowerment
Take
is.
the power with me, not like big people who don't have any idea.
Yeah.
Maybe like the well, everything more concrete. Like if you want to preserve something, it has to come from the
it's
people who
bottom-up.
want to, exactly, the bottom-up process, and not because they'll know what's important to them and what's actually matter.
But
Okay, that's
I
neat.
guess it's then important to empower the youth. So like as you say, like
There are both.
having like people from all over the world, for example, here, gives them also lots of learning opportunities. So it's always, as you say, like the local youth to be engaged, but also know, it's a much bigger picture. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant by education. Like
And she mentioned earlier, like, how do you tell people that
Yeah.
McDonald's food isn't better than your traditional food?
Yeah.
And I think there's this big one of ensuring, like to show that not everything from the West is the best. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. It was about
Self-sustainable.
yeah, exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
But it was about Chinese medicine, for example, and how like in the last half century, people in China thought acupuncture and something like that is really backwards. But then the West now thinks like, oh, it's actually pretty smart. Like that's hundreds
There's
of
something to
years
do
of
with
trying
that.
things out, and now they're reinventing it. And there was this one German doctor who's learned in China, and then like the Chinese said, you know what? I think you need to export acupuncture to Europe and then bring it back so like the Chinese like it again. So it's like more the idea of like trying to make people understand, like the old is not
Yeah,
the bad and the new
To
is
be
not the
aware of
best.
how rich their own
Yeah.
culture are. Yeah.
And like the real values
Yeah.
are within it.
Maybe we in the manifest we can insist on that part. Not only that preservation has to be jurist thing, like in the UN, so some guy in a suit say, "Oh, this site is beautiful. We need to preserve it," and maybe more like the people living in the locals just saying,
Yeah.
well, "I really like the place I am, and I think I want to fight or at least participate in the institution to defend it." Maybe we could. Yeah, maybe we could insist on that process. A bottom up, as you said, a bottom up process more than the
So
other way.
definitely like a positive framing of the participation.
Yeah. That may be some kind of original thing to put on a.
When we are talking about UN, we all in our group discussion, we are also discussing what need for financial resources to be given to the local communities. How do you do this? Can you bring a pressure on UN groups or international agencies to mobilize financial resources to these communities or local communities? How do you do that? National or
I think part of that is like with the money. There's what I think maybe sustainable tourism could be an interesting point to mention as well in the conservation area, because sometimes that's mentioned as
ecotourism?
ecotourism as like a revenue
Maybe
stream.
it could be a way also to say to people, no, preserving your tradition is not backward. It's you can preserve your tradition and also tradition on ecosystem, but also have it's not, you don't have to choose between your environment and economic development. Tell them that you can conserve it
And I think there's cool ways of doing that. I had a lecturer at uni, and they were doing games. So they were doing kind of like participatory and like planning games for conservation. So he would go there and play these games with people. So like like they call it conservation games. So it was, for example, like a common land use in Kenya. So they have a playing board, and then they invite the different people, like, oh, do you want to put your cows here, or like, want to put it there? And obviously they learn from like how people think there locally, but then people have an understanding themselves. Well, oh, that's what's going on. And it's like a really great way of like also including, so really be innovative, not just like, okay, teacher telling them, get safety, and it's like, be creative and find different ways of communicating, especially between different cultures and between different groups that might not always just like sit together as well. And
This approach we didn't really use there. Actually, some scientists use that in their research.
Exactly.
And that's a lot of it's a version of how you deal with fisheries regulars. And it's really effective for what we're doing. So that would be very good.
And I mean, it's like the youth manifesto, so there can be some crazy things in there. It's like,
And then you
make
can
sure.
have a serious game with the U and the US, like, for example.
Yeah, so you have the one where you have to wear the suit and you have to like formulate everything perfectly, and then there's the one where you just like throw some things
like
around. Yeah. There's actually a really interesting one you can play with some friends. Is you basically put some sweets on a table, and you put everyone around and say like, oh, in groups you're a group of fishermen, and when I say go, you can go out fishing. So then you need to like grab the sweets. So obviously the ones that are close to the table, they're just gonna grab all the sweets. You know, they're like, oh, you know, like he's gonna take it. The ones that are further away from the table, and then you ask them like, can you communicate? You know, can you try to figure something out? And they're close, like, no, these are our resources. And it's really interesting because on a very simplistic level, people have to think, you know, what does it mean for like the world if these sweets are our resources?
Anything new came up?
Games we're discussing.
Sorry?
Games.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that could be in the same part and education and everything. Like, it have to be. No. But yeah, that could be like an example. I don't know if you can write games in your manifesto, but maybe there's.
It's called serious game. It's something which is rising.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a great idea. I don't know if not specific.
As a whole, this kind of games where you really learn something while playing a real situation is called serious games.
Okay. Well, yeah, maybe that there can be like a line or a part with people need to be the youth need to be aware of the how rich their culture are, and there must be a part of education, communication with elder, and serious game, and really I don't know if you can say it in English, sensibilization. Sensibilization. To make people aware. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's.
For me, education is trying to give the awareness.
Yeah, if they're aware. Yeah.
To respect the biodiversity. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important because, for example, in Bolivia, they have other forms of being of all that stuff with biodiversity, the natural areas, and it's very different to Mexico, for example.
Yeah.
For this reason, I think what kind of education and for what kind of people, because there are a lot of differences between some people that live near ecological system that other people that will live in a city.
Yeah.
It's very different, the consumption and
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe that
There are quite a lot of systems.
even in cities there's way of life.
It's
And,
like urban ecology. So coming from this one, I think that's something which works well. Usually you see a difference between the people who did have contact with nature as kids, which real contact with the wild, and people who only heard about it. Then there is a very significant difference in the way they're going to behave with nature. So you need to have this real contact, not only with it. So your point about cities, that you go with educating them, like showing them stuff, making them touch stuff.
j'ai essayé de voir si les autres étaient arrivés, mais j'ai vu personne qui avait l'air d'attendre.
Si. C'est là, la coordinatrice est là.
Ok, ouais, avec ça. On va mettre fin au truc. C'était
Moi, je suis allé voir la délégation néo-zélandaise aussi, en stage. Prochaine carte.
Je te laisse mettre fin à la séance. Je sais pas si c'est dans une salle à travailler en ouais, voilà, tu l'as. Et est-ce que tu sais à quelle heure
Can you please think to conclude your remarks? Thanks.
Est-ce que tu sais à quelle heure sont les sur ce sujet-là, et avec, à quelle heure je bosse dans les hôtels. If you want to keep working on it, there will be a room, I think, available. Where
Yeah,
you
the room 20, which is right there,
on the other
is
corner,
available for the manifesto. 20.
I think, and you can gather if you want to keep working on it before turning back.
And you can share your email as well.
There is also later, I don't know the date, but there's another COI in the world that is supposed to work on the same subject. You checking? Okay, he's going to see. But if maybe it has already happened, but if it has not, you can tell us, and we can give you a link, maybe to have like a Skype, but it's Hangout, but the same thing than that with them. Well,
So yeah.
You can have a direct talk.
so when is it?
You can have a direct talk with the local.
Well, that's if you want to. I don't think there is anything planned, but if you want to hang out, that's what we call it, with them, there is the connected space with the art, and you tell people there. And something like that. So what time is it? That they will
Yeah, I
connect?
think we're gonna finish now.
It's written
The session of conservation in local code is tonight at 8 p.m. So it will finish at 9:30 p.m. So you can have this night or later this evening, you can get the result from them. Okay? Fine.
And,
Thank you very much.
Don't forget
How
to
was
send
it?
us your
Okay.
notes. Your notes, what I
Cool.
told you about.
Please result.
Ouais.